So thanks for the invitation to present today to you some insights from the new European Bauhaus initiative. So this will be not so much a scientific presentation, but more a presentation about how the policy context links to research and strategies regarding the European funding programs, and how this topic of climate neutral building with wood is gaining really an importance there. My name is Kies. I'm the Secretary General of Innovawood. We are a research network based in Europe. So we have 66 member organizations all over Europe, and also a few international ones. And we created an alliance with industry associations to set up this Wood4Bauhaus alliance. This presentation is part of the Bauhaus project, which has been already mentioned a few times today. Let me go to the next slide. It's not working. Here it is. So the Bauhaus project is a European funded innovation action running for 4 years. It's a big consortium with 29 partners in 12 European countries. And we are actually developing different materials and building systems, innovative solutions that are tested in 2 demo buildings in France and in Finland. And the goal of the project is to show that wood from the rural development, from the rural areas, can feed into the urban environment, and can be a solution for improved wood construction. So the outline of my talk is that I will give a brief introduction to the policy context regarding building in wood, the new European Bauhaus movement that was launched by the European Commission in 2021, and our specific alliance of industry associations. And I will point out several priorities for research and innovation that are sort of recommended from our alliance and also from other partners who developed a large report on this. So the background, of course, is climate change. The climate crisis is the largest global challenge of all times. And the recent years have shown us how quickly, big waves of let's say a crisis can appear, can tremendously impact the economy and the whole life of the world. And given now that the main topic today is the Ukraine crisis, sort of the IPCC report has really not been on the main radar, but the results from the latest report are really alarming. So there need to be tremendous efforts to curb the curve and aim that the global warming potential can still be limited to hopefully a plus 1.5 degrees Celsius, because otherwise many Earth systems will collapse, and the impacts will really be dreadful for the ecosystems and for the biodiversity and for life on Earth in general. So a small piece in this big debate and this big puzzle is building with wood, and this is being recognized more and more in the scientific community as well as in the policy area. Here I show one main result of this influential paper by Chung in 2020. It's basically an estimation: could we use wood as a main alternative material to mineral-based construction materials, and could this be have an impact to reduce carbon emissions in the built environment? Because the building sector in total accounts for around 40% of global emissions, and even higher, it's estimated that 70% of waste is basically generated by the building sector, including, I mean, in a larger sense, also the operation and the production and the logistics around it. So the idea is to sort of establish a global forest carbon pump where we capture atmospheric carbon in long-life bio-based construction materials, and this could drive down emissions in the building sector. Another, let's say, quite known paper estimated for the European region that new residential wood buildings could store carbon up to 55 million tons per year. So this message links, let's say, is being communicated more and more, and also realized in many policy areas. This is sort of the larger context at the moment in the European Commission, where basically the European Green Deal is the guiding new industry policy. And following that, also a renovation wave for Europe has been announced. And there are big efforts also to work towards a more circular economy. And these also link then to the latest, let's say, legislative initiatives to really complete a big legislative package within the European Union, Fit for 55, which means that we want to aim to bring down the emissions very rapidly by 55% with all these legislative reforms and new tools and new regulatory efforts. The new European Bauhaus initiative was announced in parallel to that also in 2021. It is sort of an initiative which doesn't follow the overall administrative structure inside the Commission. It's really like an experimental terrain if you want to try out new efforts of engagement and co-creation. So it's a participatory co-creative movement. The keywords are the building sector and the let's say the built environment can be beautiful, sustainable, and can be also have a big better social inclusiveness function. This initiative was really launched directly under the auspices from the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen when she took office, and up to today we have more than 400 partner organizations sort of who committed to participate in this movement. This can be anything from large universities to building companies to cities, social actors, as well also networks and industry associations. The Bauhaus movement had so far organized 2 prize competitions where best practice examples were assessed and awarded this prize. Several open calls of the Horizon Europe funding program have been linked to the new European Bauhaus, and they also have created what they call a new European Bauhaus lab. It's like an experimental think and do tank. Just a few days ago, they announced also the selection of 5 major lighthouse demonstrator projects, where actually typical European consortia will work on lighthouse projects together with cities where several of these new building concepts will be showcased. And upcoming is a festival where a lot of these initiatives will have the opportunity to be displayed in a large European conference and a festival week. A main figure behind this new European Bauhaus is Professor John Schellenhuber. He is the founding director of the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research in Potsdam, close to Berlin. He has been a leading system physicist and climate scientist during his career and has been very influential in this climate modeling, highlighting really the risk of climate change and of these tipping points in the ecosystem. In his role, he has been a scientific advisor to many eminent political and societal leaders, so head of states, the Pope, many big names, and he's also a member of various academies. And he's basically this mastermind behind the idea to use the original Bauhaus idea, which was about creating a new creative movement to really bring industrial research and science together, to take this idea of the Bauhaus now to the main challenge of our times, which is climate change. So he's member of the new European high-level group and is also the, let's say, leading advocate for wood as a building material in the European Union now, and promotes this idea of a forest carbon pump. This, let's say, initiative, so the call for the new European Bauhaus and the call for new solutions in low carbon building by the president and by this new European Bauhaus group, were the reasons why we from Innovawood, together with these industry associations, formed the Wood4Bauhaus Alliance. And the idea is to create an open platform for the wood sector, to foster dialogue with all interested stakeholders, and to help share good practices related to circular economy and green building. Yeah, to inspire, let's say, to be a partner within this new European Bauhaus movement. The alliance itself comprises, at the moment, 6 partners. So these are EU umbrella organizations representing the wood sector. Innovawood is the network for wood research, innovation, and education. Then the CEBOA is the European Confederation of Woodworking Industries, representing woodworkers, sawmills, panel industries, and so on. The European Panel Federation is the representative of the wood-based panel industries, which is a really strong player in Europe. The European Organization of the Sawmill Industries, EOS, sorry. And we also have the trade federations, the European Federation of Building and Woodworkers, representing the workforce in the sector. And last but not least, also, let's say, research partners are direct members. The InnoRenew Center is a new research center that was founded in Slovenia with the help of European twinning program. And this whole initiative is also supported by the Basajaun project. The real idea is to raise awareness about this idea that forests can provide raw materials for long life wood products, and that these can feed a growing carbon sink in the built environment, and that to really make this an active, let's say, forest carbon pump system, we need definitely to increase, which also was highlighted already today in the presentations, much more the digital chain to link forests to the built environment, and to upscale all this solution also, that they can have really a more significant impact on the carbon emissions of the built environment and on substituting fossil emissions. A big part will also be circular economy of it. So far, wood products are not really circular, we have to acknowledge, because also the largest stock of wood-based and engineered wood-based products basically use virgin timber. But there are already several industries inside the sector, first and foremost the panel sector, who are already developing much more innovative solutions to recovery and reuse of materials. So the idea of the Wood4Bauhaus Alliance is that we create an open platform for raising awareness about wood materials, and to co-create with basically all other disciplines that are involved in the built environment. And this is also the main idea of the new European Bauhaus movement, that it is a space for collaborating with other disciplines, because all is linked to space, to cities and regions, and to really curb the emissions in the built environment. There needs to be much more collaboration across the disciplines. So a first main result was that we organized an online conference last year. with a big social media wave, we managed to attract 1,200 participants. And yeah, we had many nice keynote speakers and industry representative and very nice examples that are presented at that first conference. All the recordings are still online, and we are at the moment organizing a second follow-up conference, which will probably take place in autumn this year. Then the Alliance also worked on policy advice documents. So these two documents were directly submitted to the new European high-level group. And as you will see later, we're also considered partly in there. So we developed a document about research needs and priorities, supporting sustainable construction with nature-based materials, and a second paper, policy recommendations to encourage nature-based materials like wood in construction and renovation. So I will briefly give an overview of the main outcomes of this research needs and priorities paper. The first recommendation is that we need novel and enhanced construction systems for carbon positive, long life nature-based materials and building products, which really can boost and move the market towards more diversity, towards higher circularity, and to also more affordable solutions. Yeah, the price competition in materials and in construction is really harsh, and that's the key, let's say, brake also at the moment. Putting the foot on the brake for wood is costs of the materials and of the whole construction solutions. Inside these construction systems, we are looking at hybrid, at modular, and at novel constructions products and system, which advance the benefits of lightweight solutions. Insulation with nature-based materials is a big topic, which, as we have seen already in the previous presentations, can really become a big factor in the carbon balance. Design for disassembly and conversion of the building stock into, let's say, a material storage bank should be a direction for research and innovation. And also the, let's say, engineering solutions which can build, which make the building stock accessible as a material source for the future. So deconstruction and so that the deconstruction phase is really an efficient source for materials, and that it doesn't go into demolition, which is one of the main sources for this huge amounts of waste and emissions of buildings so far. So this links to reversible joints and structures. Big topics in wood are, of course, fire safety and regulations regarding that. And of course, also the question of alternative tree species, because as part of climate change, we also see that forests have to be adapted, and that there will be a shift in European forests from coniferous species more towards deciduous species. So this is a big topic for research. And materials can also be modified and enhanced. So these are real possibilities to advance construction systems with wood. Regarding circular economy, the real, let's say, big lever would be in circular design solutions, so that actually building systems and products can be re-engineered, can be used many times, so that the lifetime of wood products can be prolonged. And this also links to durability of solutions, the right material for the right use, possibility of reversible adhesives in load-bearing structures, also the questions of reverse logistics in the production and in the construction chain, and of course the question of waste wood and urban mines. Can we recover much more and also sufficient quality of waste woods from construction sites? Because at the moment the structure is still intact timber, is usually demolished during this demolition phase, and that is where the material turns into waste, whereas basically the material is still structurally intact before that. Yeah, the debate around cascade use of materials is a big topic in Europe as well. So can we really establish a cascade priority use of materials, either through regulations or through market mechanisms? And what is the possibilities to valorize byproducts and side streams? This is also a big possibility where we see a lot of good practices, a few leading companies in all kinds of domains, but this has to be also become much more mainstream, because at the moment large amounts of really still high value timber are basically fed into bioenergy uses, and which is basically at the moment also an important part of the business model of wood industries. Yeah, but it's just not the right logic to use a lot of virgin timber materials from the forest, use it maybe in one product line, and then a large part of the material that is, let's say, byproducts during the wastes, that it's directly going to bioenergy. This is definitely a priority where the European Commission will change views and will make a priority to change that. And as I already said, a big lever will be digitalization and Industry 4.0. So to overcome these barriers, which are also very typical for our SME-dominated wood sector. So the goal is to make it possible to connect entire value chains from resources to manufacturing and customer and user stages, and also way back then during time until the end of life phases. So key questions are there in this field are material traceability, optimization of resource use, as I just said, less waste or less direct use of minor value, but finding ways to optimize the resource use into higher levels. And this actually, as also was mentioned earlier, links to the question of origin of the material, to the landscape, to the regional level, and of course to the market level of globalized timber products. Then there is research needs in actual research around the material itself. So digital twins of materials and of systems, and also digital design tools for the construction systems, prefabrication and possibilities of automated systems inside the prefab phase. Then there's a lot of research interest in bio-based sensors. So sensors that can actually, on the one hand, be implemented in buildings, but also along the supply chain and so forth. There are other steps. Of course, this links to building information models, BIM, and also more intelligent tools that are implemented inside the building to monitor actually the lifetime of the building. Just briefly on the fourth and the fifth priorities that we identified, a big lever to make these three earlier points really valid research area and create new innovations that can change the market. We need much more interdisciplinary research. So to break down silos and achieve a much more holistic perspective of the built environment, and also look into the societal impacts. So the questions or interesting research topics are human health benefits of buildings using natural materials. What are the benefits for comfort, for well-being, but also for productivity in working environments? And this can be supported through architecture and through smart architecture using this kind of materials and aesthetic designs. A big part could also be the recovery of traditional knowledge and cultural heritage, because building with wood has a tremendously long tradition, but during this, let's say, last 100 years of industrialization, this traditional knowledge was in a way reduced or lost even in some regions. And we can probably recover a lot of circular and resource-efficient solutions if we study this traditional knowledge in a much closer way. But linking also different research areas and disciplines means that we have to go more into sharing of ideas, open research, open science, and probably also engage much closer with the citizens who are the end users of our solutions. And for the fifth point, this means that the European research area needs actually to connect much better, so that we can really use the full potential of the European and even international research area. So this is also one aspect where, let's say, the Woodrise Alliance is actually a very interesting network already, because we are connecting many research centers around the globe regarding the topic of mid and high-rise wood buildings. So this would be an example where we could actually connect even further with the Wood4Bauhaus Alliance. Yes, and so these recommendations from our Wood4Bauhaus Alliance were also considered as one small or maybe decisive input to this Horizon Europe Nexus report. This is an independent expert report that sort of assesses the possibilities to include these ideas of the new European Bauhaus inside the European funding programs under Horizon Europe. So it points out that the new European Bauhaus is already well oriented towards this Horizon Europe strategic plan, and that several calls can be identified in all 6 clusters for the current program. And it also makes concrete suggestions how these research topics can be included in the upcoming phase of the Horizon Work Program from 2023 to 2024. The report lists 10 systemic challenges and recommends specific actions how this can be realized. I will just give a brief overview because I think the time is a bit short to go in detail through this. But these 10 challenges address sort of the whole built environment, and which is the main focus of the new European Bauhaus. So the new European Bauhaus doesn't only focus, of course, on wood, but it focuses on all sorts of nature-based solutions, bio-based materials, inclusive architecture, urban development, urban planning, social aspects. It's really a wide-ranging initiative, and this is why the recommendations that we have to provide also need to address in a way this larger sense, so that they can really be included. The first challenge addresses cities and the construction sector as a whole. How can we get this system view, and how can building materials be improved and enhanced and used in a different way, so that we can curb this carbon emissions. Challenge number 2 addresses circular economy and material reuse. Challenge 3 is about forest resources as a supplier of the raw material. What is the role of tree species, biodiversity, and what is the role of the forest as a carbon source and carbon sink. Challenge number 4 is about design, restorative and regenerative design, health and well-being. Challenge number 5 is about these traditional aspects, traditional knowledge and techniques. Challenge 6 is about digitalization, tools, and also life cycle assessment, material flow analysis, and modeling tools to assess, this carbon impacts and also the life cycle. Challenge number 7 proposes sort of this open innovation approach, that this could be really a lever to make novel solutions ready for the market using nature-based materials. Challenge number 8 is about community-based organizations. So how do we include regions, specific marginalized groups, rural areas in the European Bauhaus? Challenge 9 addresses the link between urban and rural communities. And challenge number 10 is specifically also about wood addressing hybrid engineered wood products and building systems. So I will just very briefly show a few examples how these challenges are being addressed. Here you see challenge number 1, and you see that it specifically suggests to study the adaptability of varying species and fiber properties from natural and managed forests for mass timber and other building material applications as one concrete recommendation. It proposes to facilitate a broad-based transition to biogenic building materials and the adoption of life cycle carbon assessment within the building material supply chain. And it also suggests to provide training protocols for new urban building workforce. And you have to understand that these kind of texts are really quite tangible for the developers of these European funding programs. This kind of direct research needs and research topics can be addressed in these funding programs. And it's one of the first times that sort of a lot of very detailed wood research topics have been included in this kind of recommended reports. So challenge number 2 about circular economy, shift towards the design thinking of buildings as fixed objects to address their potential as future material banks and sources for material reuse, and explore and develop strategies of design for disassembly and reuse, as well as affordable methods for creating reversible connections and the recovery of building materials. I will skip several of these slides. This is about deepen the science about forest resources and tree species. Sustainable management of forest carbon pools has to be part of this whole complex, let's say, systems view of buildings, and also the urban environments as a whole have to be analyzed as carbon storage banks. And of course, another big aspect is biodiversity in all of these debates. If we upscale using wood from forests, how does this play out with biodiversity and adaptation of forests? Okay, this is the part about restorative and regenerative design. So promote interdisciplinary collaboration of material science with health, with mental and social sciences, promote human well-being, and explore this sort of as a design paradigm where you can include biophilic, eco-design, circular design with the built environment. I will skip this. This is the specific challenge about traditional knowledge. This is digitalization. So how to integrate and develop good data sets applicable for these impact assessment tools, next generation integrated life cycle assessments and material flow analysis, providing good data sets and good tools to assess a full supply chain from forests to buildings, and create robust and verifiable chains of custody. And this is the proposition to establish open innovation test beds for nature-based materials and regenerative design. So creating sort of networks of organizations that basically focus on these nature-based materials and building systems, using much more exchange within Europe. Okay, I will skip these. These are not so directly relevant for wood, but challenge number 10 really addresses hybrid engineered wood products and building systems. It states that there is really a lack of larger demonstration projects where you can showcase that sustainable construction systems like hybrid engineered wood products and building systems can really deliver this impacts regarding innovation, new solutions, but also climate-friendly solutions that actually can be upscaled in the market. So it specifically addresses light timber frame, heavy and engineered timber frame, cross-laminated timber, etc. as well as innovative facade systems and building structures, and also advantages in prefabrication of smart factories. Okay, so this was a very rapid overview of this report and the recommendations. You can find all the links also in this presentation if you would like to know more. So this has been submitted to the program development under Horizon Europe, to the different DGs and the high-level group of the new European Bauhaus. And we expect that several of these recommendations will be translated also into specific research and development opportunities in the next upcoming Horizon calls. Just a few overviews that we are also preparing various other events with this Wood4Bauhaus alliances. There will be a high-level event of the new European Bauhaus in June, launched in Rome. We will also be present at the Woodrise conference in Porto Roche in Slovenia in September. And as I said, we are preparing a second conference to be probably held in autumn this year still. So thanks a lot for listening to this, and I'm very glad to answer any questions regarding the Alliance or regarding these recommendations. And I hope we have the opportunity to exchange and meet also at one of these upcoming events.
Thank you, Yui.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Any question for Yui?
I can try one. Maybe it's a bit out of the scope of your presentation, but since you work at the European level, you have a good perspective on the different countries. And you said digitalization and Industry 4.0 was one of the research needs that came out of your initiative. Would you say that any European countries stand out regarding digitalization of their construction sector? Like, there any leader?
I can speak mostly for forestry and wood industries. For the construction sector itself, at a larger scale, I'm not so familiar. Well, certainly there are differences between countries, and I would say the Nordic countries are really advanced in this digitalization of the forest wood supply chain. It's due also because the forest sector is much more integrated. You have much larger companies who partly also even own forest land and manage their own whole supply chain. There have been also a lot of initiatives, public initiatives to make data, for example, remote sensing data on forests widely available, so that they are available for companies and for startups. This you can definitely see in Nordic countries really advancing and pushing innovation. But also in the building sector, there's a lot of innovation, I would say, in several countries. It really depends if this, I would say, this opportunity of low carbon building is a real interest now in the market. Yeah, we have been in contact with larger companies, construction companies, who are really seriously looking into wood science and wood engineering, which is a totally new field for them, and they really struggle also to to find good personnel and find enough knowledge to make this happen to make this transformation happen inside their company. Okay. So yes, there's a lot of ongoing. Digitalization will be definitely a key player in this, but I would say we have to see the future, how well this advances and how well this translates as a general market solution.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Yui.